Welcome to Nerds at Church, Season 4! Ah!
Yay!
Nerds at Church is a podcast diving deep into nerdery and the Bible. I'm Pastor Emily, and I use pronouns like they, them, theirs.
And I'm Pastor Kay, and my pronouns are she, her. In this episode, we'll discuss our upcoming 4th season of Nerds at Church and what we've got in store for all of you.
Check out the episode description for links to any references we make in this episode, as usual.
Yes. So, as we've hinted at / told you repeatedly, Nerds at Church is going to a new podcast format. And instead of putting out one episode for each Sunday and whatever additional holidays in the lectionary cycle come up, we've decided to go to what we're calling a semester system, where we'll have semester seasons that each last a few months and put out about one episode a week, each semester focused on a particular theme. Our first semester theme is the church season of Epiphany, which means that this season will be focusing on space, astronomy, and topics related to the Magi.
Which, by the way, happy Epiphany! This
Yay.
episode is coming out on the day of Epiphany, which always falls on January 6th.
And means that the season of Christmas is actually over.
Womp, womp. I know, I'm sad too. But don't worry, the season of Epiphany has to do with lights. So keep those twinkle lights up all you want.
And you know, if the Christmas tree is still up, we're not going to fight it.
It's true.
That's
Ours
fine.
stayed up all year last year, but we only put ornaments on it a couple weeks ago, so who knows what will happen with ours. So part of making this shift is that we are hoping this makes our podcast more accessible, especially for lay people and folks who aren't super connected to the church. So please, please, please share this with parishioners, friends, and colleagues. We'll still connect with scripture and Christianity so folks can explore faith in new ways and nerdy ways. We are nerds at church, after all.
Exactly. And of course, we will still have a Muppets moment at the end of every episode. You all have been very clear that that was what we should do. And so we will also continue to be a non-explicit podcast with any content notifications stated up front so that listeners of all ages can engage, and feel free to tell Apple Podcasts what a great job we're doing on that front, please.
5-star ratings might get read on air.
Yeah,
Who knows?
you never know.
Anything to entice you.
Plus, we've got a bunch of stuff going on YouTube so that captions are available for whoever needs them.
And that counts for these episodes, and we're going back through our original 3 seasons on the lectionary cycle so that you can still engage in that way if you don't want to scroll back to the beginning.
Yes.
And of course, we do reserve the right to not put out an episode during Holy Week or occasional other busy times. And if we really get excited about something, we might just add in an episode on top of what we've already got planned. Who knows? So much freedom.
Absolutely.
The freedom of a podcast. Then, between semester seasons, we'll take a couple of weeks off for planning and recording ahead. If there are topics, nerdy, churchy, or both, that you'd love for us to cover, let us know on social media or send us an email at nerdsatchurch@gmail.com. And as we mentioned, this is a season and semester of Epiphany. And so if you're curious about what the story of Epiphany is, it can be found in Matthew chapter 2, verses 1 through 12. I always encourage people to keep reading after verse 12 because the fallout of the story of the Magi continues even past that. We'll link to Matthew 2, 1 through 12 in our episode description. And if you want to learn more specifically about the day of Epiphany, we'll also link to our episode with Jessica Davis, where we talk about Epiphany and the season of Epiphany. And we'll also link to our episode on the Feast of the Holy Innocents for those of you interested in learning what happens after the Magi leave.
Yes, absolutely. I too would encourage you to keep reading after verse 12 to see what the fallout is, but content warning, that involves, a lot of child murder. Thus, the Feast of the Holy Innocents. Just so you know that that's coming up.
That's why we're giving you a different episode on it to listen to.
Exactly. So, After this introductory episode for Season 4, our next episode will be what we're calling Episode 1 of Season 4, which will be covering cosmology in history and cultures. How have people understood the universe to work throughout history?
And then we'll follow that up with Episode 2, which is the Magi and Zoroastrianism. It is commonly understood that the Magi probably were Zoroastrians, and so we're going to dig into a lot of the lore and tradition around the Magi and also do kind of an introductory dive into Zoroastrianism for folks.
Yeah. Episode 3 will be an episode on astrology with special guest Emily Ann Garcia.
Super exciting to have her back again.
Yes, if you loved our episode where we did dive into glitter, you will be delighted to hear that Emily Ann Garcia is back.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of my favorite, most listened to episodes.
Or our episode on the blackest black that ever
Yes.
black. Controversy in the art.
Absolutely.
We'll follow that up with episode 4 on our solar system. So if you have very strong opinions about Pluto, as I do, please let us know ahead of time. Maybe we'll put out a poll before we record or something, or maybe after. But feel free to give us your deep insights and or nerdy opinions on our solar system.
Absolutely. Episode 5 will be on astrophysics and stars.
And then for episode 6, we will be talking about astronomers, some of the people who have made great advances in our understanding of space.
Yes. And for episode 7, we will be covering male astronomers, probably mostly white ones. There are a handful of those, and we should probably talk about them.
We should make sure that they get, a mention or whatever. And then in episode 8, we'll talk about geography and celestial navigation. So talking about everything from dark skies to how people have navigated the world at night.
Yes. I believe probably more along the lines of navigating on Earth by using the stars
Yes.
rather than navigating through the stars, because we haven't really got that part figured out yet.
Yeah, that's very true. Accurate. Right. We are not Battlestar Galactica. Yet.
No. I don't really need Cylons in addition to my daily life. Thank you very much.
I mean, okay, fine. I was thinking more towards the end, but yeah, okay, valid.
Yes. In episode 9, we will be covering space travel in pop culture, basically looking at how space travel is handled in various fictional universes and what does that mean.
We have, in case you haven't gathered, we have some pretty awesome guests we're working on for this season, for this semester of
Yes.
Epiphany. And then for episode 10, we'll dive into space programs like NASA, especially, with Reverend Kristen Rice, who is the person I know who loves NASA the most.
And Emily knows a lot of people who love NASA, so that's saying a lot.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
It really is.
And then episode 11 will be our book talk episode. We are really looking forward to that. And during the season, we will be assembling a book list, which we will share throughout with our Patreon folks. Once this episode is released, we will share the final book list of recommendations of books about stars, astronomy, and the Magi, and all the related topics we've discussed.
Yep, and some other media as well, for those of you who
Yes.
are more watchers or listeners.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
with all of these changes come some extra bonus stuff for our Patreon supporters. In addition to access to all of our uncut episodes, we also have gotten a discount for our Patreon supporters for our merch store, so you can get a 25% off discount at our merch store. And I know, we've got some stellar merch. We talk about it a bunch. I frequently wear or talk about it. It's really a delightful merch store, and everybody deserves a chance to have something from our merch store.
Absolutely.
Also, you will get early access to our book and media recommendations list for this season. So if you are working your way through the season and want to know ahead of time / when we record what stuff is popping up and what to keep your eyes and ears on, this is a great way to do that and to stay ahead for this. And one of our extra special new things
is, of course, we're going to do some movie commentaries for this semester. And so we have a few options on our list so far. Moana has a fantastic cosmology and understanding of how the universe works, and I'm especially looking forward to talking about the fish that she feeds peanut butter sandwiches to.
Also, celestial navigation in Moana is also part of it.
Yes, absolutely. And then the movie Hidden Figures we're looking forward to. And then finally the movie Apollo 13, which is an old favorite for both of us. Mm-hmm. So we're looking forward to those, and we can't wait to share our thoughts with you. Indeed. And so finally, like we said, of course we're keeping the Muppets. We were never going to get rid of the Muppets, folks. Come on, let's be honest. And so it's time for our Muppets moment at the end of the episode. And so our question this week is, what Muppet would you choose to reformat a podcast with?
I would definitely choose Scooter. Very organized, very good at planning, very good at keeping all the chaos orderly enough.
Yeah, see, that's why I have you, Emily. That allows us to escape the worst of my ADHD tendencies.
Fair.
Yes, I thought about this, and I was thinking that Rolf, as a musician, has a good sense of timing and pacing and rhythm, all of which are super helpful with podcast, along with a great dose of creative.
Yeah. Also, I think that Fozzie Bear would be great. Like, maybe as a, co-host. Right? You got the, snappy words.
Yeah, I'm thinking he would make a great co-host. Reformatting a podcast for how that works, I'm not really sure he'd be able to keep his attention.
Okay, fair. So, this has been our very short intro to season 4 episode for you all. Thank you for joining us. Our theme music was by Rachel Meyer-Laughlin. Our Muppets music was by Brenda Boss. And our new seasonal art, which you can see on our social media, as well as wherever you are catching this podcast, was by Pace Warfield. Catch us next time for our first full episode diving into cosmology in history and cultures. This podcast has been produced by us, Emily Ewing and Kay Rohloff. For more fun, check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Blue Sky at Nerds at Church, or contact us at nerdsatchurch@gmail.com. And you can find our YouTube playlist for this season at bit.ly/NAC Season 4.
Also, if you like what you've heard, rate us or leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Facebook, or wherever you catch your podcasts. If you want access to our uncut guest episodes and interviews, movie commentaries, and more, like our book list, support us on Patreon at patreon.com/nerdsatchurch. Starting at $5 a month, it is so much cheaper than figuring out how the universe works.
Truth. Or even just taking a class on space.
Yeah.
Also, let us know on Blue Sky, Facebook, or Twitter who you would choose for your Muppets moment for this episode.
As the ancient Christians said,
Pax Vobiscum.